Welcome to the McWaters Effect. I'm your host, Matt, and today we're going to be talking about what's going on at the border with the illegal immigrants coming and the caravans and the horrible stuff that the Biden administration has done since he's been in office. Now, when Trump got into office, there was only 700 miles of fence at the U.S. border. After the 4 years, he put up 450 miles onto the border. He also had to replace a little over 350 miles because of how damaged the fence was. Now the border is 2,000 miles long, so that means it's a little bit more than halfway covered with fence. Now, since Biden went into office, he ended all border construction with an executive order and all of the Trump's gains when it comes to ending illegal immigration. Now, if you look at this map right here, the only place you don't have a border wall at is from Loma Pass, El Paso, all the way before you get to Brownsville. Now, everywhere else you have a border. If the liberals are so content about keeping the border open, then why do they need a border wall in New Mexico and California? They're run by liberals. If they're so content about having illegal immigrants come on into the country, they should have those. They should have no border wall there. Now, they have detained over 100,000 immigrants since Biden took office. When they say detained, that means that's how many they have actually caught. Now, when it comes to actually people have entered the United States, we have no idea. That's why we need a fence all the way across the border. Not knowing who's coming into the country and whether or not they have COVID, whether or not they're not here to do harm to the United States, whether or not they're trying to transport kids for illegal purposes, such as sex trafficking or something like that. Now, we need to know who's coming into this country. Perfect example is what happened on 9/11. We don't know if there's terrorists that want to come here to do harm to the United States, or we have the sex trade coming in here, taking kids out, taking kids in. We just don't know. We need to shut it all down to keep the United States safe and also to keep kids safe. Smugglers are now spreading misinformation at the border, and the White House is saying now it's not time to come in. Well, I don't see how that could be possible since he took away, he's made it where 100 days, no deportation. You know, all that's doing is making people at the border saying, hey, I'm not going to stay in this tent city when I go to the United States and live on high on a hog. The acting DHS Secretary underneath Donald Trump, Chad Wolf, has a lot to say about what Biden is doing to the border wall and his executive orders.
At the same time, he has promised not to build another inch of that wall. Chad Wolf joins us right now, the former acting DHS Secretary. Secretary, always good to see you. Well, he's undoing and unwinding a lot of the stuff you were doing. Are you worried?
Well, I am, Neil, and thanks for having me on. I think the executive actions or executive orders that you see today, as well as the ones that he did on the first day, are problematic for a number of reasons, right? Because they're weakening not only the critical reforms that we made to the asylum process, they're weakening the security on the southwest border, halting that border wall construction. They're weakening our ability to deport dangerous individuals, dangerous criminals, and across the board. Some of the legislation that he's putting forward will give work permits to millions of individuals, undocumented and illegal aliens, at a time when millions of Americans are out of work. So across the board, up and down, there's a number of concerns that I have with some of the actions being taken. And at the end of the day, I'm concerned that they're creating a crisis on that southwest border in the middle of a pandemic crisis, in the middle of an economic crisis as well.
And he's done all this with executive orders. And they called Donald Trump a fascist because he used executive powers himself. This guy's done 45 executive orders since he's been in the White House. 4 of them have went to the border wall. And they're trying to bring the smugglers from sending the immigrants in. Hell, if you didn't take the 100-day deportation away, and not only that, the smugglers are trying to make money. Of course they're going to lie to those people. I mean, what we expect? I mean, it don't take a rocket science to figure out that, hey, they want money, so they're going to lie. Duh. And of course, Joy Reid had to get her opinion in. And here's a video showing what she had to say.
You know who the absolute worst is? Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Yes, he's a repeat offender. Here's why. After following DeSantis down the COVID denial path and recklessly opening up his state without any restrictions this week, he's deflecting criticism by dishing out anti-immigrant xenophobia.
The Biden administration was releasing illegal immigrants into our communities who had COVID. The Biden administration was spreading COVID in South Texas yesterday because of their lack of constraint of testing and quarantining people who'd come across the border illegally. The Biden administration was exposing Texans to COVID. That is Neanderthal type approach to dealing with the COVID situation.
No, Joe Reed, you're the absolute worst. Greg Abbott is right. Over 100 positive cases have come up at the border from illegal immigrants. That's not including the ones that got past the Border Patrol. This is another reason we need to have a strict border control for diseases like this. I mean, it's just common sense. Now, next thing I'm going to talk about is the cages they have for immigrants. The reason they have them is to try to keep people from actually wanting to come here. It's a preventive measure, as well as some of the other things the Trump administration did while they were in office. Now, the mainstream media reports that the cages started during the Trump administration. It actually started during the Obama administration while Biden was the vice president. This is something that started with Obama, and he did it to try to prevent people from wanting to come over to the United States. Trump did not change this. He probably should have, but he decided to keep it because the mainstream media didn't give him any flack for using these kind of cages. As soon as he got in office, they threw it right onto him and said it was his fault. He's the one that started using the cages, and then he had to say, who's the one that built them? Obama's the one that built them with Biden supporting it. This is the double standard that people are talking about that's going on in the political arena when it comes to right and left. Now, you know what gets me about the mainstream media? Is Biden is doing the same thing. It's just his cages look a little different. They look like sea cans. Yeah, they're a little nicer. They got air conditioners. But you know how hot a sea can gets when it's summertime? It gets hotter than hell. That air conditioner is not going to help all that much. And then he doesn't even got that many facilities. So if you get a big influx of kids from the border, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have multiple people in these rooms crammed in. It's going to be a cesspool of disease and COVID. It just doesn't sound like a very good idea. It doesn't really make any sense to do this. That's why we need to have a border wall and have border laws to try to keep this from happening. Now all of a sudden, you have Democrats alarmed what's going on at the border because they know what's going to happen. It's going to make it where they might lose the Senate and the House next election, and maybe even the White House. Now the Texas Democrats express alarm about what's going on at the border. Now you express alarm? Over 100,000 people have come across that border. Are you serious? You should have been expressing alarm, I don't know, after the first month when the 78,000 came through. And this is the whole time when Biden's been in office. The first month he got in there on the 20th. Now we're going to have a lot more problems than just COVID with this going on. You're going to have issues with high employment, with the new workforce, a large workforce coming in, take away jobs from legal Americans, and you're going to also have issues with the wage growth because a lot of these guys are going to have to work under the table, work for less than what normally people would be making. That's going to cause issues with wage growth. Now, the question Democrats are going to have to ask is, why didn't you do immigration reform before you opened the floodgates from the border to allow people in? And there's only one reason there is. It's because when they looked at those 10 cities, they saw opportunity and more votes and more power for them to win not only state legislatures, as well as the federal legislature and presidency, governorships, all that. Now, I'm not one of these people without a heart. I understand people want to leave their circumstances of their countries if it's not going well there, and they want to come here and try to make their life better. I get that. My ancestors did the same thing, but they need to do it legally. Now, one thing they could do for immigration reform is try to make it easier to become a U.S. citizen, especially when it comes to testing. Most people in the United States can't pass that test. Not only that, the amount of money you have to pay to actually become a U.S. citizen, it's anywhere from 30 to 60 grand. Majority of people from South America, Central America, and Mexico can't afford that. Matter of fact, most people from Africa and some places in Asia can't afford that either. It makes it look like we're trying to only get the rich people, and you have to be a certain skin tone to get in here. I don't believe that's true. I believe this is done because we just haven't had immigration reform. We need to have a comprehensive immigration reform to change things and to change things at the border. But first thing you got to do is finish that border wall, and then you have a funnel of where they can where people come through, so you can determine why they're here. Are they a threat to the United States? Are they gonna do illegal things? So on and so forth. Now that's my conclusion on the border wall and the immigration story. If you have a different opinion, or have the same opinion, or have any kind of opinion about this story, just comment down below. Don't forget, hit subscribe, hit like. It helps the channel grow. Thank you. Peace.